Hi all, welcome to our recording. We wanted to share this important recording due to a fast approaching deadline. If you have not heard of or are unfamiliar with CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, the report required to this regulation is due by the end of this month, January 31st, 2024. Before we get into it, a quick overview of your speakers. My name is Trish Beltran, and I am a manager in RSM US ESG advisory practice, where we assist companies with navigating the ESG landscape from compliance to impact. Today, I am accompanied by my colleagues across the RSM Global Network, in which we are present in over 120 countries. For this specific recording, we are joined in collaboration with our colleagues in RSM Netherlands. Gideon?
Hi everyone, my name is Gideon Land and I am a manager sustainability consulting at RSM Netherlands, where we assist companies with ESG compliance, risk management, strategy, and reporting.
Hi everyone, my name is Joad Battel and I'm a Senior Manager Indirect Tax at RSM, leading the supply chain consulting team. We help companies to be compliant on various aspects of international trade, such as customs, VAT, ESG, and trade compliance.
Hi everyone, my name is Jaden Kist and I am a Senior Associate in RSM US's ESG advisory practice, where I work with Trish assisting companies in developing with the global ESG landscape.
Hi everyone, my name is Jody Ader and I'm a manager in RSM's Trade Advisory Group, where we assist companies meet global customs regulatory requirements.
So now a quick overview. The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism is a tool that is designed to address the concerns related to carbon leakage and ensuring alignment to EU's climate goals. Carbon leakage is defined by the policy occurs when EU-based companies move carbon-intensive production abroad to countries where less stringent climate policies are in place than in the EU, or when EU products get replaced by more carbon-intensive imports. To prevent this, the EU will impose a carbon border price on imports, encouraging cleaner industrial production. There are two periods that we can look at for the introduction of CBAM. Currently, we are in the transitional period, which goes until Q4 2025. During this period, the 6 specific goods that are being looked at are cement, iron and steel, aluminum, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. During this time, there will be no need to purchase certificates yet. Beginning 2026, we enter the definitive period where the understanding is that the reporting will likely expand from the 6 specific goods I just mentioned. In addition, purchase of CBAM certificates will be mandatory. This is a quick high-level overview of CBAM. In the next couple of slides, we are going to go a little deeper into the reporting requirements, what you should gather in preparing your report, how you should think about gathering that information, understanding who the stakeholders are in this process, how you should report, touching on the transitional registry, overview on what default values are, and in closing, we will touch on the resubmission options and penalties to this regulation. Lastly, we will cover how RSM can support you in this process. I will now pass to my colleague Jaden to talk through the reporting requirements.
Thank you, Trish. With everything that CBAM aims to cover, there are many pieces of information that you will be required to facilitate collection of and submit in your reports. These can be bucketed into the general categories seen here. This includes data on the type of CBAM goods imported within the defined categories noted by their CN code, as well as the quantity of each good imported. In addition, information on your operators and their installations, meaning your suppliers and their facilities, is required so that the European Commission can trace the information coming in where necessary. You will also need to know carbon pricing data for the jurisdictions that you import from, which will be necessary as CBAM continues into the definitive period, and you will have to purchase certificates based on embedded emissions. From your operators, you will be required to collect data on the embedded direct and indirect emissions from those imported CBAM goods. These pieces together will allow you to practice reporting through the transitional period in order to be prepared for purchasing certificates during the definitive period. Understanding that the first CBAM report deadline is imminent, RSM has analyzed the guidance and determined the minimum information from what was shown in the previous slide that will be necessary to collect for the first CBAM report. This will hopefully assist you in focusing your data collection efforts over the next few weeks and provide you a base to build off of through the rest of the transitional period. This minimum required information includes, as mentioned previously, a list of the CBAM goods being imported and the quantity of each good imported. In addition, you will need the addresses and contact information for your operators, as well as the addresses of their installations. Carbon pricing data in the jurisdictions that your operators exist in is also necessary. Finally, if you are unable to collect actual embedded direct and indirect emissions data from your operators, you can use the default values of CBAM goods provided by the European Commission in order to calculate the emissions of your imports. Now, Jody will speak through how all of this data can be gathered.
Now that you learned about information required for CBAM reporting, like imported materials and quantities, you can take some steps to make sure you comply with the reporting requirements. If you are a supplier of impacted products, you can proactively review affected products' CN codes and run some reports to analyze your export trade data, sorting the data based on the destination country. This will help you determine the products in scope. Then you can analyze those products' bills of material to see what raw materials were used and who they were purchased from. This analysis may also include applicable carbon inputs. In many cases, this may mean contacting your suppliers to obtain production information related to carbon inputs on the products you purchase, and then performing calculations to determine the correct information to provide your customers. Once you have all this information, you can give it to your EU customer or the customs representative. If you are an importer or customs representative, you will need to see if your product's CN codes are included on the CBAM list to determine what products are in scope. You can then create a carbon usage questionnaire to provide to appropriate suppliers and contact your suppliers for the required data. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Jawad.
As indicated, CBAM reporting requires active involvement of various actors as shown in the main figure. First of all, the third country operator will deliver the required emissions data to the reporting declarant. At the time of import, the importer or reporting declarant has filed a customs declaration to the authorities as usual. Information from the customs authorities is sent to the EU Commission, which will verify the incoming CBAM reports. As you can see in the middle of the figure, the reporting declarant files a CBAM report to the EU Commission. The Commission then assesses the report and notifies the competent authorities if any irregularities are identified. The competent authority on the bottom of the figure reaches out to the reporting declarant to notify them of the irregularity, may offer them the opportunity to rectify it, and may impose penalties for reporting incorrect or incomplete reports. Additionally, it's crucial to understand the role of the reporting declarant, who is responsible for reporting the embedded emissions of imported goods. Typically, the importer is the reporting declarant. However, in case the importer is not based in the EU, it must have an indirect customs representative, who will be the CBAM reporting declarant. It must be stressed that the reporting declarant who will file the CBAM report and is liable for incompliance is heavily dependent on the information received from operators. The fact that data quality and reliability is not within the control of the reporting declarant, but depends on the operator, causes significant compliance risks. Slide 9. The cornerstone of the practical execution of CBAM reporting is a transitional registry. Reporting declarants use this platform to file the CBAM reports, and it enables declarants and authorities to communicate about the CBAM reports. The registry contains various key items. My quarterly reports. This contains an overview of the filed or unfiled reports for each quarter. You can create or edit reports for reporting periods which are still open, or view historical reports. Installation and operations. This can be separately managed in the portal. My importers. is mainly relevant if you act as an indirect representative, as it shows the importers that are represented. My profile information displays the information of the lodged in reporting declarant. This portal is used mainly for creating and filing CBAM reports. If preferred, you can also upload your report in XML format, which is more efficient in case of large amounts of CBAM goods reported. On the right side of the slide, you see a template for communications with suppliers. The EU published a template for information sharing purposes, in which includes main data to be requested and applies automated calculation of embedded emissions based on inputs of operators. This template is not obligatory, but rather simplifies information exchange. Now I hand it over to my colleague Gideon.
Now that we have shown you how you should report, we will shortly discuss the use of default values. CBAM will require reporting declarants to report their embedded emissions data based on actual data that is obtained from operators or suppliers. However, obtaining this information can be challenging, especially during the first few quarters when CBAM infrastructure of declarants, operators, but also authorities is still maturing. Default values enable CBAM reporting when actual values are not available. They represent a global average for direct and indirect emissions of specific products based on secondary data and can be used as a substitute for actual data that must be obtained from operators. Until July 31st of 2024, so for the first 3 quarterly reports, default values may be used without any restrictions. This allows you to report while you set up your CBAM processes and gather actual values from suppliers. From the 1st of August 2024 to the end of 2025, default values may be used for 20% of precursor emissions, which are essentially emissions from raw material inputs. However, there are still options to substitute actual emissions data for default values, but only under strict circumstances. Finally, the default values have been published by the EU for CN codes categorized in 4, 6, and 8-digit codes. In case you have not yet prepared for CBAM reporting, rest assured, there is still time to comply with CBAM requirements, but it is time to start acting quickly. The EU offers the opportunity to modify and resubmit the first 2 CBAM reports until July 31st of this year. However, it is crucial that the reports are submitted before the reporting deadline. Only submitted reports can be modified, so even if they are incomplete or incorrect, make sure to submit the first report before the 31st of January. Penalties for failure to report incomplete or incorrect reports can be enforced from the first reporting period onwards. Penalties include fines of up to 50 euros per ton of unreported emissions and may increase with repeated failure to submit a compliant report or in case of serious offenses such as intentional misreporting of data. I will now pass back on to you, Trish.
Thank you. As you can see, CBAM reporting is nearing, and the requirements and the navigation of this regulation can be complex. At RSM, we are able to support you across this process wherever you may be. From stakeholder mapping and engagement, like the collection of the data from your suppliers, to managing your data. If you already have that capacity and capability, maybe it's just training on this new regulation, or maybe just an extra pair of eyes for review in your preparation. This is not an exhaustive list of how we can support. So if you have a need, our services expand beyond CBAM to assist with the overall navigation of the evolving regulations. Please reach out to myself and my colleague Gideon if you have any questions, and we can assist you in connecting you to who can help. Thank you all for your time today.